So this is the self-development with tactics book.
So, this one's gonna be about Marc Ecko and his book Unlabeled, and as always, more after the intro. My God. And yeah, with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And also hello to all the YouTube watchers, But before I actually forget, and because I'm always mentioning it before every episode, this particular YouTube video is also available as a podcast episode, which means that you can just listen to it, which means that it is a way more effective way, at least at my point of view, to consume this episode because, sitting there for 30 minutes and watching a YouTube video might not be very efficient, but listening to something while you're able to do something different or simultaneously, which means cooking or cleaning up your room or walking your dog. You could do just such a lot of things while listening to this. Listening, not watching, listening. So therefore, I would highly suggest you to check out the podcast. The link should be down in the description somewhere, quite on the bottom, I guess. And yeah. And if you are on the podcast, then everything should be in the show notes as well. So every link that might be necessary, might be relevant for you, should be there. Also my social media pages and whatever, And yeah, today we're going to talk about Marc Ecko. And before, the podcast is also pretty good for all those listeners that are listening on mobile devices and or are on their mobile data network thing, whatever. Because the thing is, YouTube videos are way higher, or they are way bigger in terms of the MB or megabytes. You have to just kind of give up for consuming it, Therefore, also the podcast is a pretty handy thing because it's only the audio, and the audio normally is not as big in terms of the data as the YouTube video is or as the video is. But yeah, we're going to talk about Marc Ecko and his book Unlabeled. And first of all, I just wanted to talk about Marc Ecko and read his Wikipedia page because it's sometimes pretty important to just know who wrote the book, and what he's doing. Maybe also to just see whether you believe in the book or not. Because the thing is, something that Gary Vee often was talking about, which is giving a fuck about the jockey and not really about the horse. Which means every company has a CEO. And the problem is when the CEO isn't capable of doing anything, then also the company is not in really good hands. But if it is vice versa, if the company is pretty shitty, but the CEO is pretty good, then you can somehow assume that the company is going to grow in the future. Maybe because the CEO just accumulated this whole network and a whole business just in a few days ago, weeks ago or something. But most often it is really important to have a pretty good CEO or pretty good jockey, a pretty good leader of the whole thing. Because if the leader is shit, then I don't know. I think you shouldn't really trust in the whole process then, because it could be pretty fucked up. At least in my point of view. But yeah, let's see what Marc Ecko says. But I do just have to say that something that also Wikipedia says is that there is some citations and or verifications that are not there and that are in need, because some things seem to be not really correct. So as they say, continuous material about living persons that is unsourced or poorly sourced must be removed immediately, especially if potentially libelous or harmful. And whatever. So therefore, if you know about Marc Ecko, it would totally be nice if you check out the Wikipedia page, which should be linked down in the description and or in show notes if you're on the podcast, and correct all those mistakes that might be there. And I'm also pointing it out because I'm going to read this, so it might not be true, but I don't know. I really don't know. So he was born Mark Louis Milkowski. Oh, really interesting. So it seems to be the case that he changed his name, I guess. And he was born in August 29th, 1972, which makes him 47, in Livingston, New Jersey, in the US. His residence now is in Burnsville, New Jersey, and he's American, and his education is from the Rutgers University. He's a fashion designer, artist, entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist. and the founder of Ecko Unlimited, I guess, or UNLTD. I don't know what it is, unfortunately, but I could look it up. UNLTD, the Foundation of Social Entrepreneurs, is a charitable organization in the United Kingdom set up by 7 organizations that promote social entrepreneurship. The organization offers cash awards, networking and mentorship opportunities for social entrepreneurs in the UK and has affiliated blah 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 blah. And the Ecko UNLTD, clothing industry. So it's a clothing industry, or it is in the clothing industry, and it is actually the Jakira, so YAKIRA LLC, doing business as Ecko Unlimited. It is actually unlimited, stylized as Ecko Unltd. It's an American urban fashion company founded by Marc Ecko in 1993, so it's relatively old, I could say. The company makes apparel and accessories under brands including the men's Ecko Unltd line and the Ecko Red line for girls and women. Pretty interesting. But he has a spouse, Alison Rojas or Royas, I don't know. But yeah. So Mark Louis Ecko, Mialkowski, born in August, blah, 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 is an American fashion designer, entrepreneur, and artist. He's the founder and chief creative officer of a fashion company, Ecko Unlimited. He also founded Complex magazine in 2002, which is pretty interesting, which is a pretty, I don't know if it is a franchise. I don't know if he is owning it at this point in time, but I guess not, because they would have written it and they would have been talking about it. But I do just really like how they're doing with social media, because especially on YouTube, you often can see their videos, which are pretty good and pretty great. You know, I just wanted to mix up good and great, but they're really good and or great, or even I would say they're even great, because they often have features, if I do not mix up anything, you know, with relatively famous people like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa, most often from either the artist scene and or the music scene, which is somehow the same, like, but you know what I mean, like, which is a pretty good way, at my point of view at least, to use social media, you know, to just maybe even use their leverage, you know, use the leverage of, or actually using the leverage of those famous people and those celebrities to also drive a lot of traffic, I guess. You know, I don't know if this is the intent. But yeah, the early life and education. Mialkowski was born in New Jersey on August, blah, 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 blah. He was brought up with his twin, Marcy, and an older sister, Sherry, in suburban Lakewood, New Jersey, where his father was a pharmacist and his mother was a real estate broker. Ecko entered Rutgers University's School of Pharmacy in New Brunswick, New Jersey after high school. During his time in college, he painted graffiti and practiced drawing. Taking Ecko from his name in his third year, the school's dean encouraged Ecko to take a year off and pursue art. And now his career. I can't read today. In 1993, Ecko started Ecko Unlimited as a t-shirt company with small investments from his sister and a friend, Seth Gersberg. I didn't even know, to be really honest, and I'm really sorry that I'm not showing you the text actually, but I actually didn't know that there's somebody else called Seth besides Seth Godin. It's really interesting. It really is interesting, because I never thought that it is the case. Just, even though it's kind of stupid to think, but you know what I mean. You know, there's actually not really a lot of people that are called Seth, but I think it's actually a pretty great name. He traveled to Hong Kong to learn about the clothing industry. Early clients, Spike Lee and Chuck D, helped bring attention to his fledgling business, as did a Good Morning America segment that featured his t-shirt designs. The company expanded further into hip-hop and skater styles and began to sport a rhinoceros logo. I'm sorry. Ecko's businesses have expanded to include Complex magazine, video and social gaming, and venture capital. Ecko was appointed to the board of directors of the Council of Fashion Designers of America, which is the CFDA, the youngest designer to do so. Since 2010, he has been a member of the Emerges board. In 2008, he created the new jackets for for the Iron Chefs on Iron Chef America, which is pretty great. He seems to be a pretty successful dude, I guess, as far as this Wikipedia article says. But as I said before, it doesn't necessarily have to be the right thing, because as Wikipedia also says, there are some citations and also verifications and or whatever that are not there. But yeah, because we're now having some background information on Marc Ecko, we can go through his book, because I guess it is actually a pretty good thing, as I said before as well, to just know about the person, and to know what they did, what they're doing, and whatnot, so that you can actually also believe in what they say and or maybe not believe in what they say. Unlabeled by Marc Ecko, which is available as a book summary on the paulminers.com website, which is also going to be linked down in the description and or in the show notes wherever you are. With Unlabel, you will learn how to discover your own voice by overcoming fear and taking action, what it means to deliver on your promises, why failure is essential, how to understand how your product or service makes people feel, and how to recognize if your nostalgia for the past is hampering your ability to envision your future. It is actually pretty interesting to see that all those vintage things are coming again. And I've been asking a lot of people, mostly teachers, I guess, in terms of what they think is the reason that a lot of things are coming and going, which means for example, we had those Polaroid cameras back in the day. So me not, because I wasn't living back then, because I'm just only 18 years old. I'm a pretty young person. But we had Polaroid cameras, those cameras with those wiggle kind of images, and you had those then just in your hand, basically, as a physical thing. And now they are coming again, and also in various different variations, also some sort of a Polaroid. So from the Polaroid, is it actually called Polaroid, the company? I guess it actually is, but I'm not quite sure. The Polaroid company has also just published, I don't know if it is published now, but I've seen it on Unbox Therapy. It's some sort of a scanner, and with the scanner you can actually lay your phone on top of it, and there's going to be a lens and whatnot, and then by laying it down on this kind of scanner, it prints your photo that you're having on your screen. Like, you have to open just your Photos app, or actually their app, I guess, and then select the photo. Then you're able to just lay your phone onto this kind of scanner, and then it's going to print it out, which is something pretty cool, I gotta say, but, is there some use for it? Does anybody actually need it? Probably not, I guess. But it's actually a pretty cool thing, It is pretty cool. And maybe they're even going to drive some sales with that, I don't know what they're thinking about. I don't know what their strategy is. But maybe it's actually working, because who knows? I actually have to just... am I having some handkerchief here? I don't even know how it is called. I think it's handkerchief, isn't it? But I don't know. Never mind. I don't need one. I actually need one, but I'm too lazy to get one. And I also don't want you to wait. So who is this book for? Unlabel is a bold, visual, and honest approach ideal for everyone who wants to build an authentic personal brand, grow a bootstrap startup into a sustainable business, or balance creativity with commerce. Which is actually something that is really, really difficult, I guess, because I've been having 2 internships now in 2 companies, 2 graphic design companies, or kind of, well, most often it's the case that they're just doing design, they're also doing just advertisements and whatever. So in the end, they're doing quite a lot of things. And, commerce definitely plays a really, really big role, because they also need to make some profit. Without some profit, they're not able to just grow their business. They're not able to invest some money into, new computers, which might be the case in the future, or which is definitely going to be the case in the future, and all those other things. You need just money, but creativity and money often don't really play together, because, the customer wants something, but your creativity says something else, but you still have to do what the customer is doing, or you're able to convince this person, or you're able to just tell them, okay, what I'm thinking of is way better than what you just suggested me to do or told me to do. But yeah, it's a pretty difficult thing. About the author. Marc Ecko is an American fashion designer, entrepreneur, investor, and artist. He's the founder of Marc Ecko Enterprises, a global fashion and lifestyle company. He's also the founder and chairman of Complex Media, a network of 110 websites that generate more than 700 million page views and 7 million unique visitors per month. Ecko serves as an emeritus board member to the Council of Fashion Designers of America, Big Picture Learning, and Tikva Children's Home. But yeah, in the summary, with Unlabel, you will learn how to discover your own voice by overcoming fear and taking action. What it means to deliver on your promises, why failure is essential, how to understand how your product or service makes people feel, and how to recognize if your nostalgia for the past is hampering your ability to envision your future. So let's dive in. The summary. The authenticity formula. This book breaks down the anatomy of a personal brand as demonstrated by Marc Ecko's authenticity formula. The first point is authenticity. The second point is equal to your unique voice. Oh, I think it is actually a sentence. So authenticity is equal to your unique voice multiplied by truthfulness. Is it truthfulness? Yeah, I can't read. Multiplied by truthfulness plus your capacity for change, multiplied by range of emotional impact raised to the power of imagination, which is 6 points now. Like the first one is authenticity, then the voice thing, then truthfulness, then capacity of change, then emotional impact, and then power of imagination. And the first thing, obviously, we're going through is authenticity. And I gotta have to say that authenticity is something really, really important. Just before this episode, I've been reading an article by Seth Godin, actually, about storytelling, because I'm really interested in storytelling, because I guess that storytelling is a really important part of what I'm actually doing, because if I'm able to tell pretty good stories, then people would like it. People like stories, and the stories have been around for so many years. I guess I would even say, well, if you kind of think about all those cave paintings that we have seen, which are actually kind of the first paintings I guess we actually have seen, and there are quite. What is wrong there? Something is wrong. Gotta have to close something, I guess. Because, like, we have cave paintings. And the thing is, they're paintings. And what do paintings do most often? Especially those cave paintings. They tell stories. And that's sad. And just by underlining this means that stories have been around forever quite. And stories are really, really important part of human beings, of life, of just maybe also feeling good or bad or sad sometimes, because they can make you feel good and or happy, bad and or also sad. So I guess that storytelling is something really important. And inside of storytelling, authenticity is also something that's very important, because the thing is, it makes a difference. If you're talking about something, if you're just telling a story that is true and or authentic and or is actually something that you have lived, and compared to a story that you kind of come up with, and a story that you haven't lived, and a story that is not your story. And people notice that. People really notice that when you're not really authentic. If I would be talking about something, and I think you can clearly hear that, you can clearly hear when I'm talking about something that I'm not really educated in, that I'm not really knowledgeable in, but you can also totally feel it and also recognize it when I'm talking about something that I'm really passionate about and something that I just know about and know a lot of knowledge of. You can totally hear that. And also being authentic, if you're not really authentic, then sometimes you might even be contradictive. You might even just tell a story that just says something in the beginning, but in the end it is completely the opposite. So people notice those things really, really easily. And therefore it just makes sense to talk about what you've lived, some things that you've maybe read yourself, that somebody else lived. So it should be authentic, it should be something that's homogeneous maybe. It should be something that is fluent, something that is truthful. But yeah, let's see what he's talking about in this authenticity chapter. We are all a brand. How people see you, feel you, understand you, and make assumptions about you when you're not in the room are pieces of your personal brand. Marc Ecko's philosophy on branding is simple. and it is Unlabel. When you unlabel, you create an authentic personal brand that transcends the gatekeepers, the critics, the haters, etc., who want to put a label on you. You talk directly to the heart of the goalkeepers, the ones who have I just. Oh, okay. The first one was the gatekeepers. Now we are going to talk about the goalkeepers, or we are talking about the goalkeepers. You talk directly to the heart of the goalkeepers, the ones who vote, the buyers, the fans, and whatsoever. They are the only judges who actually matter. And it is definitely the case, because if you really focus on those, the thing is, gatekeepers have been a really important role just back in the days. Nowadays, it's not just such an important role because times have changed and things have changed, because now there's not a lot of gatekeepers out there. Maybe in the Hollywood scene or the Hollywood kind of area or atmosphere and whatnot, there might be some gatekeepers at this point in time, but most often in this point in time, there's not a lot of gatekeepers, thanks to the internet, because back in the days, we all had to have somebody, which means, for example, if you wanted to just make some movies without the internet, you actually had to maybe ask the movie theater guy, if you actually can play, or if he can play your movie this night. You actually had to ask this person. Nowadays, you can just upload it to YouTube, and that's quite it then. But back in the days, we actually had a lot of gatekeepers, in Hollywood, which I think is actually the case right now as well. There's just a lot of people that can get you somewhere or get you something. And this is just kind of my definition of gatekeepers, you need them to just get to somewhere, but nowadays, through the internet, through social media platforms, through just platforms in general and websites and whatnot and blogs, we're able to just do all those things without the gatekeepers. And nowadays it totally makes sense to talk to the goalkeepers, those people that actually are voting for you, those that are buying your shit, that are your fans and whatnot, because they actually matter, because if you're doing something that is not really in the favor of your goalkeepers, then it's not really a good thing, because these people like what you're doing, or just initially maybe liked what you were doing. And these are the people that actually matter, and not the gatekeepers nowadays. Maybe nowadays it's also the case for some areas, as I said, maybe in Hollywood, but I don't know. But most often, it's not the case. When you unlabel, you can grow both creatively and commercially. You can be an artist without being a starving artist. You can sell without selling out. To be a brand, however, you must be a creator and not merely a consumer. Create can be anything. You don't have to be an artist or a musician or inventor. Maybe you create code or ads, or if you are a dental hygienist, you create clean teeth, which is actually the case. People can take your job. No one can take away the brand you've created and your ability to create again. Fight for it, defend it, die for it. Brand is something that's really, 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 really important, at my point of view, because brands are the reasons why we buy things, why we watch things, why we are listening to things, why so many things, why we're having different opinions on different things. As I was just thinking, like, PewDiePie is definitely also a brand. You might know PewDiePie, the most subscribed YouTuber, but he's still the most subscribed YouTuber as a singular person, because the most subscribed now is T-Series, but it is a network. It is a network of quite a lot of people, I guess, and they are uploading just enormous amounts of content each day. And he's definitely also a brand. So PewDiePie is definitely also a brand, and I guess that I don't know, like, it's pretty difficult to say, we are often buying things, especially when it's about clothes, because of status, which is actually something that Seth Godin was talking about really, really often, I guess, in his life, and also in This Is Marketing, which is his book that he was published, or that was published in 2018, that I've also read. Read it, I think, actually 2 times. I read it 2 times because the first time was like, and then the second time was like, okay, just to understand it a little bit better, also with taking some notes and whatnot. But brands are really important, And then we buy them because of status, because those brands show something to the other people, which is then status. Like this is kind of the definition for me of status, because if I'm having a swoosh, the Nike swoosh on my shirt, this just shows something to somebody else. Maybe this shows that I'm just rich. Maybe this shows that I'm athletic. Maybe this shows that I'm just a Nike guy. I don't know, it shows just some things. And this is also one of the reasons why people buy things, mostly because of status, mostly because we want to feel good to other people. This is also one of the reasons why I and also just a lot of other people talk about giving a fuck about what anybody thinks about you. Because if you don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about you, you do not have to buy brands. You are able to actually save a lot of money by not having to buy a lot of brands and having to buy those brands names and branded clothings and branded shoes and branded whatever. Unique voice. Authentic brands have a unique voice, which is a function of 3 variables. The first one is action, the second one is fear, and the third one, is self. Fear. Fear can immobilize you and trap your creative voice. Before you can take action, you must overcome your fear. Fear in our DNA. We are afraid of fire because we respect its power. Thanks to this fear, though, we have learned to leverage fire, govern it, cook meat, and keep our homes warm. Today, much fear could prevent you from taking risks, which you need when creating and scaling a brand. In business, you need to have a healthy amount of fear when it comes to playing with the fire of debt, loans, and financial leverage. Having an overly majestic, larger-than-life vision can also cripple you with fear. Start by thinking about the next 18 actionable hours, not the next 18 years. Action is bigger as fear, which is kind of the bottom line there. Action. An authentic brand is more than just an idea. Talk is cheap. An authentic, unique voice requires action. If you're not careful, you can let weeks, months, and years slip by without acting on your passion. And you can't find famous companies, artists, or individuals who have a low action score because, by definition, if you've heard of them, they are probably taking plenty of action. As you take action, you will meet gatekeepers that stand between you and your path, like Vogue magazine, the major labels, etc. Most of them are not real. The gatekeepers are not the goalkeepers. The goalkeepers are the ones who actually keep the score. In fashion, it's the people wearing your clothes. The thing is, if you're a fashion designer, and you're just designing fashion, obviously, and you're just having the platform of H&M, for example, but nobody buys your fucking clothes because nobody actually likes them. In the end, it's like unnecessary. In the end, you're not selling any clothes. In the end, everything is fucked because nobody's buying your clothes, even though you're actually having the platform of H&M. The thing is, if you're having the brand and also platform of H&M, then probably some people are going to buy your shit. But is this actually what you wanted to do? Is this actually those people, or are those people actually those that you actually wanted to serve? This is another question, another question that you have to ask yourself. Likewise, when you start becoming a pro, people will often get defensive and call you a fraud. They act like another kind of gatekeepers, shake them off, and don't allow them to shut down your actions. Create an environment that lets you take action. Really, really important. Self. A strong sense of self, both internally and externally, is the engine that powers your brand. You can't have a unique voice without being unhealthy or with being healthily selfish. Great brands learn how to be self-referential without being predictable, creating moments that elegantly refer back to their core values, delighting their consumers, fans, and also followers. Taking action doesn't mean that everyone's going to love you. Showcasing yourself is no guarantee for success either. To reframe yourself into a scalable brand, you need to represent core values with a worldview, appeal, and present a visual definition. A logo, for example, that symbolizes these values and the vision for the brand. Once you find a sense of the self that feels authentic to you, embrace it, especially as you face criticism. And something really important that I want to point out is once you find a sense of self that feels authentic, because, and this is going to be kind of the last thing that I'm willing to talk about now in this episode. Authenticity, again, is really, really important, because I don't know if you want to do something that you're not standing behind of, which means, are you willing to do something that you're not really happy with, in terms of like, okay, for example, for me, it would be something like, okay, I'm doing something that I know will hurt a lot of people. I'm not willing to do something like that. I'm not willing to be just the man behind this brand, the man behind this kind of topic, the man behind those values. And this is also something that I wish you're also thinking about, because the thing is, you have to just think about it, you know, because once you've done that, or once you're doing that, you're going to be remembered as this person behind those values, behind this brand, behind this thing, or actually only behind this brand, because this brand involves the self, as we said, the action, and also the fear. Oh no, it's just something else. But it should be authentic, you know, you should be happy with whatever you're doing. You know, which is, well, I gotta have to say, like, the unique voice is part of the brand, and he also kind of said it in this thing, if I kind of have seen it correctly, actually. Or is it actually... Oh yeah, you know, there's actually, they didn't talk about brand in this one. But yeah, you know, you have to be standing behind this thing. You have to just feel happy and good about spreading your brand. At my point of view, at least. I don't know. Some people might be just really happy with spreading something they're not really believing in, and they're not really happy with and whatnot, and they feel like actually bad because they're doing it for maybe money, for example. But this is not something that I would suggest you to do, you know, because it might be good in the short term, but in the long term, it's definitely not going to be something good. It's definitely not good doing something that you actually find not good, actually, and that you find kind of maybe even harmful, and maybe even just bad. And I don't know. I don't think that you're willing to be remembered as a bad person. I don't think that anybody is willing to be remembered as a bad person by anyone. The thing is, often it's the case that people just are remembered as a bad person by some people, by the gatekeepers maybe, but as a really, really good person and as the best person ever by the goalkeepers. Something to also kind of think of. But yeah, this is the end of the episode. I do hope that I've been able to just give you some information, give you some value there. And I do just remember that I have forgotten to just go through some Quora questions. You know, my Quora link should be down in the description and also in the show notes. So if you want to ask me a question, please ask it on Quora or any social media site that is also linked down in the description. You know, I'm gonna see it, definitely gonna see it, and I'm definitely also going to respond. And I'm also going to talk about the question in the episode. If I find, you know, that it is a good question, if I find that it is just something that other people can also contribute of. But yeah, I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to ask yourself how you're going to be remembered. I just thought I'm actually always saying that, but now it felt somehow different. I don't know. Which means, like, for example, being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person, which is something really, really good. And I think that we should be thinking about it way more. The problem there is that we are probably not going to be remembered as a good person by everybody, because there are some gatekeepers. There are some persons that, or people that dislike us or even hate us, you know, because we're more than 7 billion people on this planet, nearly 8 billion people on this planet. And there's definitely going to be somebody that dislikes you or even, as I said, hates you. But yeah, 3 other questions that I hope that you're going to ask yourself are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? Which means, like, yeah, what is pissing you off, basically. And those 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, you know, especially the last one. Like, often it was the case that people actually solved the problem, you know, and then it was a business. And that's quite it. And you probably also have seen some problems in maybe society, some technical problems and all those things, even though a lot of things have already been fixed, you know. This just also has to be said. Like, a lot of things have been fixed already, you know, which doesn't mean that there's nothing else to fix. There's a lot of things to fix, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna see you the next time. I hope. So please subscribe to the podcast, and also please subscribe to the YouTube video so that you're not going to miss out on any good, great information, also value, entertainment, and whatnot. It would just really mean the world to me. Like really. Just by the amount of work that I'm putting into what I'm doing, it would really mean the world. But yeah, I see you the next time.